Some of the dreams we have, y'all, are very practical, and a lot of them are tied to things we love, which makes them even more possible. And before you break ground, those roots are gonna need to grow. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. I hope that you are having a beautiful day. If you don't already know, my name is Jaazy, and today we're going to be talking about something that honestly is probably the biggest thing holding you back from achieving your goals. If you're someone who's already taken the time to scour the internet, get to this video, you've probably already done research on whatever it is you're trying to achieve. You probably know the materials you need. You probably have an idea for who the people are that you want to reach. You probably know what you want your product, service, art to look like. But for some reason, it's not being executed. I think that sometimes we can have these big dreams, big goals, big ideas, and if you're anything like me, another type A person, you've gone over all of the things that you need to accomplish to make it just the most beautiful, amazing, eye-catching thing, and you know that it can be good, like, you know. But even with all of this information, even with these big dreams that seem to be great ideas, it's just not happening. Like, for some reason, you're not getting from point A to point B. And I think that a lot of times we can fall into the lie that once we have the perfect plan, executing will be easy. We think of quotes like, failing to plan is planning to fail, and think that once we've come up with a great plan, success is guaranteed. And this is just not true. At the beginning of any growth process, when you first had that idea, when that spark for what you really wanted to do first hit your heart, you probably had so much excitement, so much motivation, so much passion for what it is that you wanted to achieve. In that moment, if you hadn't taken the time to plan and just jumped into it, you probably would have created, produced, sent out a great amount of things. You could have maybe reached a ton of people, but maybe the quality of it wouldn't have been as great. Maybe you wouldn't have thought about what you would need to make it sustainable for the long term, and in many of those cases would have crashed and burned. And knowing that, that's not what you did. You took the time to plan. You remembered, failing to plan is planning to fail. And with all that excitement, you decided to slow down, take a second, and draft out a plan for your success. A plan to execute this passionate idea that you had. But in this planning time, as those days, weeks, months, maybe even years passed, you slowly lost steam. That excitement, passion, vigor that you had on day one has slowly died. And rightly so. Life gets busy, there's things that we have to take care of, responsibilities. Life also is not easy. If something hard came up, or maybe you're going through a rough mental season, there are things that can not only distract us from our goals, but cause us to lose passion for those goals. Sometimes we don't give ourselves grace to know that when you take time to plan, you are sacrificing that initial excitement, that initial energy, and almost, what do they call it? Oh, you're sacrificing that adrenaline that you get when you first have that big idea. And we don't give ourselves enough grace for that. And of course you hear people say it just takes discipline, it just takes discipline. And it does, but I think you have to remember your why. And so this goes into our first point. Remember your why. Why did you want to do this? What was it about the idea when you first had it that just made you so excited? Like, so excited to the point where you were like, I can't just squander this idea. Like, I need to take time to really figure out how to execute it in the best way possible. What made you think that, feel that, want that for yourself? I can remember with creating, I've just always loved it. Like, it's just fun. And one of the things I struggled with when I was younger was using my voice, being able to speak, being able to, whether it was in my family or with friends or in group settings, in school, it was always difficult to feel confident or to feel that I could express myself confidently and freely. And creating was always that way where I can make a video on my iPod, talk as much as I want, and no one is gonna say a thing. And that made me so happy. And then as I grew and was able to start encouraging other people with my voice and realizing that people were being encouraged with my voice, both online when I was making some videos, and especially in my real life, I found that I could actually help people, and that also added a lot of joy to it. And I also love building community, especially with women, helping other women, supporting, building each other up. And so that's my why. That's why I come record. I know I want to build something, and I just love the idea of that. I've always been an entrepreneurial person. That is my why. So when I woke up this morning with a migraine and I got a couch and then it broke and then I had to try to fix it and then my headache wasn't going away and I was eating Oreos laying in my bed, all of my passion and steam for the day had died. The why that I just said is why I decided to get up, set up this camera and record this video. You need to remember your why, because whether it is a migraine, whether it is your mental health, whether it is just stress, tiredness, whatever, you are going to run out of steam. You are not going to be excited. You are going to not feel like it, honestly. And so you have to remember your why so that you can recenter and really push through the resistance as you are achieving your goals. Secondly, take small, consistent action. With whatever it is you're trying to do, there are things that you can do to get there. In business, there's this concept of the MVP, not the most valuable player, but the minimum viable product. When companies or entrepreneurs are trying to expand or start a business, they need investors. They need people to come and pour in resources so that the business can grow. For the sake of the example, me on YouTube. My investors are those first followers I'm gonna get, my core community, and to y'all, I am showing my minimum viable product, which are these videos that I'm making now. I don't have the fanciest setup. I didn't really have the energy to prep. As I said, I was literally eating Oreos before this. But this is what I can make right now to show you and basically ask you, is it worth watching this video? Is this worth investing in? Is this worth giving a like and subscribing? And in reality, this is going to take me about 20 minutes to record. And if that's all I have the time to do right now, that's all I have the time to do. If that's all I have the resources to do right now, that's all I have the resources to do. No one trying to start a business is starting with their big product. You are starting with the minimum viable product to gain proof that the foundation, the core of your idea, that the first execution of your why is enough and is worth continuing to invest in. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes, it can take years to really prove that, but be encouraged that you do not have to start on level 100 to be successful and to start to see investment, to start to see growth, to start to see change. If you want to start a book club or start a literacy campaigns for like maybe kids in your area, start with a small community of people reading, maybe 3 or 4 friends every week. Like, you don't have to start big, start small. If you want to become an app developer, start with something small. Maybe use a class project to create an app so that way you can have something in your portfolio. There are so many things that you can do to start, and be encouraged that when you are starting something new, when you want to have people that believe in you, you need to present something. You can't present nothing, and it's better to start with something small than to start with nothing at all. Think of your idea, think of what you want it to be, think of who you want it to touch. What is the baseline that you can create to start putting something out there? For me, it's this video. And as I make more videos like this and I get more engagement, I get more feedback, I can learn what to change, what to tweak. And y'all, one of the best parts about starting small is that it allows you to grow so well. And the reason why is because instead of investing like all of this stuff based off of just what you in your head think is a good idea, you're asking people's opinions as you grow, getting criticism as you grow, and you're adding things very intentionally. You're growing very intentionally, so the point where when you do have your product, your service, your art at level 100, it is at the point where like it is perfectly curated for your vision, but also for your audience's needs. It just limits the amount of resources that are wasted. It makes the most of your time, and it also allows you to just really look back and see your growth. With starting small, with remembering your why, with not feeling motivated, the next thing that you have to do is embrace the mess. This is something that I just struggle with. I am so bad at this point. But I'm telling you, embrace the mess. Like, nothing is gonna be perfect. Embrace the fact that the path that you're going on is not going to be linear. It's going to be very much like this. But at every point, you're gaining and learning something. Even I know when I go back to edit this video, probably gonna want to scratch half of it because I won't like how I'm talking. I probably am not gonna like how I'm looking at the camera. XYZ, doesn't matter. You have to embrace the mess because you are literally starting from square one. And that's another area where we don't give ourselves grace. Like, who starts at square one perfectly? Literally nobody. The Olympics just passed. These people are training for hours and hours and hours every single day just to get good enough. Not even to be perfect, just to get good enough to compete. And so when you are trying to become good at something, when you're trying to grow, it is going to take time. If you're not willing to see a little bit of mess, make some mistakes, I can promise you that you're not gonna be successful. And the reason I'm saying that is because I have been there. I have been in that spot where I'm sitting in my head, overthinking, ruminating, wanting something to be perfect. Where I have a video up, I'm editing it, I want it to be perfect, so I never post it. And guess what? When you don't put things out there, it's not gonna get anywhere. You have to be willing to risk at least something. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything. There's risk to reward, and so it will be worth it putting yourself out there, but just embrace the mess of the journey. Like, I think it's beautiful, and it's always inspiring to hearing stories from people who were successful and how they can go back and basically talk about where they came from. We all love the stories of the millionaire entrepreneurs who started their business in their parents' garage. Like, everyone loves that story, or of the famous actors who were living in shoebox apartments in New York City. Like, we love those inspirational stories. Again, do you want that to be you? Are you willing to start with your shoebox? Whatever that shoebox is for you, you might be there now and it might be very uncomfortable, but you have to start making from that space. You have to be able to embrace the mess to keep moving forward and growing. Point number 4 is to find your support system. We are not meant to do anything alone. I think that in creativity, this is not a blanket statement. I would say the other points for the most part are, I know there are people who grow, create, do things completely on their own, honestly, and maybe that's just their personality, maybe that's their specific niche, maybe that's specific to them, but for the most part, we are not meant to go on this journey alone. Because when you have those days when you're stuck in your head, when you have those times where you don't want to be creating, it's going to be that random person on Instagram that you didn't even know was watching your content. If you're one of those people, thank you. One of those random people on Instagram who DM you asking, why'd you stop making videos? And I'm like, I didn't know that you cared. You need that friend who's going to be like, oh, that TikTok you made the other day was really cute. Or that other person that's creating in your space and is like, have you been struggling with this? Because I really have been too. You need people who are going to encourage you, push you forward, and really lead you to grow and to continue growing and learning and pursuing your passion. People who are going to remind you that what you're making actually matters and actually helps and encourages people. Like, with that, you also need people who are going to tell you when you're a little bit off. And of course, take that with a grain of salt. Like, we all have to pave our own path, but it is good to know like that you have people in your corner who want what's best for you even when you don't see it for yourself. Also, it is so good to have people around you who are following their dreams as well. Like, I think that we can really underestimate how encouraging it is to watch somebody else be successful. And if you're a person who struggles watching other people be successful, whether it's from jealousy, things like that, that's something else to deal with. We've all been there. We're all human. We all get jealous. But being in a healthy space where you can actually be encouraged by someone else's success is like so powerful. Like, even in these last few months, I just finished college. Seeing my friends start to really pursue their dreams has encouraged me to pursue mine, to not waste my time, to not waste these early 20s. I'm 21 years old, just finished college, starting my career, living in a spot that I enjoy, thankful to have a family that is supportive of me. The sky is the limit, and it's the people around you that will remind you of that and that you can lean on when you forget it for yourself. And last but definitely not least, point number 5, trust the process. It's gonna take time, y'all. It is going to take time, and I think sometimes that can be the hardest part. Like, I started posting on YouTube in 2020, which, thinking about it now, is 5 years ago. I've learned a lot. Have I grown a lot? No, not really. Part of that is just because not being consistent. Part of that is because I was still learning who I am as a person. Like, there's so many reasons, but I just say that to say that it takes time. And there's a lot of spaces where you do see overnight successes, but even with overnight successes, they haven't done it for the first time. Like, I've seen people who are artists, for example, like they draw, put their designs, make clothes. And some people will blow up overnight. Those people didn't start drawing even that day. Maybe they dropped, it was their first drop. Maybe I have one friend, she's an amazing singer. I'll put her information down below. Her first single, I believe it was her first single that she released, did amazingly well. That was not her first time singing. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, she had been practicing. Like, the first thing that you see is never a person's first step. And for different people that may look different. For me, I was posting on and off for 5 years. Now I'm gonna be consistent. We'll see where it goes. In other areas of my life, career, like that starting off really strong. Like, my success didn't start today. It started when I was a insane freshman in high school who was doing 5 bajillion things and studying and making Quizlets and just being crazy. Like, that's when that success started. And even thinking that's 8 years in the making. If you want to think bigger, that didn't start with me. That started with my mom pushing us to do well in school. And so it is going to take time. There's a life cycle to everything. That's the way God made the world. That's the way things work. Everything takes time. There's a cycle to everything. Everything grows. Everything takes time. Seeds need to be planted. There's this analogy that I know you've probably heard like 5 million times, but it's the fact that when you plant a seed, the roots grow down first and you don't see them. You don't see a plant's growth for a considerable amount of time, and only after the roots are solidified do you see a bud. And before you break ground, those roots are going to need to grow. And so yes, while you may have your plan, while you may have your ideas, while you may have the whole DNA of your idea packed into a little seed, it is not until you plant it, water it, and let the roots grow that a bud is going to start to show. And so it is going to take time. Having the plan itself is not only enough. You are going to need to put yourself out there. You're going to need to remember your why. You're going to need to embrace the mess and have community that can build you up on the way. You're going to need to keep taking those consistent steps to get there, even if they're super small, even if it's the bare minimum, and just trust the process. Trust that you in the future is gonna look back at you making this decision to take action on your dreams and be proud and be grateful that at least you tried. To look back and not have that thought of, well, what if I did try? Or what if I was consistent? Or what if I did believe in myself? Like, just do it. Just try. Just be consistent. Just believe in yourself. And it's easier said than done, but it's also not that hard to do. That's something that I've had to be telling myself. Like, it's not that hard. I'm not running an ultra marathon. You know what I mean? I'm not doing Simone Biles gymnastic tricks. I'm not trying to be the fastest like Rubik's Cube person in the world. And even if I was, I could still put my mind to it and do it. But some of the dreams we have, y'all, are very practical. And a lot of them are tied to things we love, which makes them even more possible. And so just do it. Like, honestly, just do it. Like, take these steps I've talked about, write them down, remind yourself of them, and put them into action. And I believe it's possible. I know it's possible for me, so how much more possible would it be for you? And remember, resistance is normal. You're not always gonna feel the passion. You're not always gonna feel the excitement, but it takes steps to get to where you wanna be. It just is. And right now you're at a step that might be a little difficult, might be a little discouraging, but it's just another page in your story. And hopefully, God willing, the ending will be beautiful. Thank you so much if you've watched through this whole video. I really hope that it encouraged you. Please leave any comments below. Maybe share what it is you're passionate about. Find other people with common interests below. Start finding your community, building your community. But I hope to see you in the next one and hope that you have a beautiful and blessed rest of your day. Bye.